Hi, welcome to the Boca Voice and Fact or Fiction Friday. Today, we need to talk about the March 13th election and what's coming up. We have both C and D seats for the City Council available, and as we get ready to go into this election season, there couldn't be more impactful for everybody to come out and vote. We really need to get out and vote, folks. It couldn't stress enough the purpose of you going out and voting. Today, it's a really important opportunity for everybody to understand the importance of getting out and voting. Typically, on these municipal elections, it's only the super voters that get out and vote. Why is that? You know, when the presidential election comes out, everybody comes out and votes, and then they also vote in the municipal elections. But when it's just the municipal elections, very few people come out and vote. In this particular election, it's very important for you to come out and vote. A lot is going to be decided. A lot of people have got a lot of opinions about what's going on in the city of Boca Raton. We live in a world-class city. A lot is going to be decided over the next few years of what's happening in Boca Raton, and you want to be a part of that. Don't sit on the sidelines. Be activated. Be in charge. You decide what's happening in Boca Raton over the next few years. You get out the vote on March 13th. Now, let's talk about why it's so important and who's going to be up for bids for this 2018 election. In seat C, that the person that's going to be, that you should be voting for is Jeremy Rodgers. Why is it important to look for Jeremy Rodgers? Well, he's a voice of reason. When you look at what he actually does vote for, he's been very consistent, and he is his own person. When he sits up on city council, you know that he's going to be very methodical. He's a former, he actually is an active duty, or he's a reservist in the United States Navy. He's responsible. He works for IBM, a very good family man, and one of those persons that actually sits there and asks a lot of questions. He's very methodical in all things that he does. He thinks about each individual thing that comes up in front of city council, and he wants to make sure he's making the right decision for you, the voter, and the resident. Now, one of the things that I found interesting is when Boca Watch started to attack him, and his opponent is only been a resident in the city of Boca Raton for less than a year, and yet they're backing him. They actually endorsed him, and when they when they endorsed her, I don't even understand why, because some of her views are not even relevant or stand tall with what they stand for. They also are attacking him for his voting record. I find that interesting. The reason why I find it interesting is that he actually voted for the Boca Colonnade, Meisner 200, 375 Royal Palm, 1 South Ocean, and 5200 Congress. Now, all of that is well and good. He actually did vote yes for every single one of those properties. Some of those were actually approved a while ago, and when they came back in front of City Council, they just reaffirmed those particular ones. An interesting tidbit, Andrea O'Rourke approved the exact same ones. Now, why is it that they're saying that's a bad thing for Jeremy, but they're not actually telling you the other side of the story? Another one is he actually was the only person that declined the Western Golf Course, but yet other ones did not. So he is not just the person that's going to rubber stamp development. So you want to make sure that you're taking a close look at what the other side, what Boca Watch is feeding you when it comes to Jeremy Rodgers, and why they're putting up a candidate that's been a resident of Boca Raton for less than a year. We want to be very cautious here. If all they're doing is sending up somebody that's literally going against them, there's going to be a reason. Remember, all Al's looking for is to be a puppet master. He wants to put people in place that's going to do his bidding. He didn't get elected mayor, and he's sour about it. He put in a couple ethics complaints. He didn't get his way. It didn't go his way, and now he's still sour about it. We want to be very cautious. When all you're doing is throwing out complaint after complaint and throwing hate out in the world, it gets ugly, and it gets ugly very quick. We are in a world-class city. Let's please rise above all of that and get to a better place in life. Now, let's go to the other seat, seat D. We have Armand Grossman. Now, let's look at all of the things that Armand's bringing to the table. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Armand Grossman, and the attacks are going wild against this gentleman. Armand is great for the community, and I think that's why they're going after him hard. You know, one of the things that I think the reason why they're going after him so hard is they really don't have a great candidate they put up against Armand. She has zero experience. She has absolutely no clue as to how to be a city council person. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're creating such havoc and so many lies against him. One of the biggest things they did was they did this direct mail piece. So I asked Armand to come in and sit down and go over those, and he did. And we did it live, so there was no time to do any video edits or anything. I wanted you to see just how emphatic Armand was on each one of the points. So we did it as a live interview rather than a taped interview. One of the things that we asked Armand, are you a developer? Emphatically, he said absolutely not. Do you have a real estate license? Yes. Are you a real estate broker? Yes. But he is not a developer. We went on to ask him in regards to why does it show up on some of your documentations? He said, look, when I'm doing the real estate things, it does come up on some of the things that I put out there because I do flip properties and I come back and forth on it. So it comes up on some of the documentation that I do. So it makes sense. It was exploited, obviously, for Al's use when he did Boca Watch. Like typical, he blew a mountain, made a mountain out of a molehill. Now, he is not a developer. He answered it emphatically. The next thing they brought up was the relationship with Penn, Florida. I asked him, are you or have you ever been an employee of Penn, Florida? He emphatically said no. He actually said that Randy Schultz called him up and asked him the same exact question because it came up with Randy Schultz. He said, absolutely not. I've never been an employee of Penn, Florida. I've never been one. I was an independent contractor. I was hired by Penn, Florida to work with him. He explained it in a live interview. I took it one step farther. I reached out to Penn, Florida. I contacted the COO. I contacted David Warren. David Warren explained that his exact title was the Marketing and Community Relations Liaison. He both domestic and international, which confirmed his story that he did go off to China. He worked on programs to work and talk to him about how we could be a betterment for the city of Boca Raton. And he also did the same thing here. He was working on behalf of Penn, Florida, working with the community, going out to the council meetings, going to the Rotary meetings, talking to people about Boca Raton and the Penn, Florida business. It was consistent with what he told us on the live interview. It's been consistent with every meeting that I've had with Armand so far. That is our job here at the Boca Voice. Our job is to find out the facts and report it back to you, thus being a voice for Boca Raton. We want you to know the facts. Not the facts the way that we want you to hear them, but the real facts. The difference in that and what Boca Watch is constantly trying to shove down everybody's throat is they want to dice it up and give it to you in the slivers that they want you to see. They only give you things that you can consume the way that they want you to see it, rather than giving it to you the way that it appears, the way that it's natural, the way that it actually exists in the world. That's not right, guys. We're all intelligent human beings. We all deserve to get the truth. If we're going to get the right people representing us, it's right. The next fact, they happen to give this, and this really, really makes me mad because I was called out on Facebook by one of the staunch supporters of his opponent. And they said, she has never accepted money from a developer. And I said, okay, well, that's not exactly true because it's right on her report. And they had a huge debate for over 24 hours going back and forth. And one of the things that she put on her direct mail was that it was on Armand's side, it says developers or attorneys. And on her side, she's never taken money from a developer. Now, for those of you that would actually look at this, would you not think that if they're taking money from a developer's attorney that is the same as taking it from a developer. We all know that developers and developers' attorneys are basically one and the same. If they're representing a developer and we're throwing money through a developer or through a developer's attorney, they're nothing more than a representative of a developer. It's not being genuine. And why would you put it on one side of the document and not on the other? It's not being genuine. It's not being honest. If you're claiming to be transparent, be transparent. We all need to be transparent, especially if you're running on that platform. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is her radical views. She was actually asked inside the Sun Sentinel article, and one of the statements that she said is that she has radical views. I do not want a radical candidate. I don't want somebody that's going to be radical, especially when she says that she wants higher taxes. I do not want higher taxes. One of the things that I like about Boca Raton is the fact that they have kept taxes in check. Armand is verified and said that he is not for higher taxes. I, for one, do not want higher taxes. And Monica has come out quantifiably and said that she does want and is for raising taxes. That is a problem. And she won't come on and be interviewed to discuss it one way or the other. And I have a problem with that. I've also asked her to come out and say and give a statement whether or not she's accepted any money from any one of the developers' attorneys, and make a statement that she will not accept any money from developers to either her campaign or any of the PACs, and that won't come out. The next statement I'm going to get into are the PACs. The interesting thing is the long debate happened over the last 24 hours on PACs. Now, let me explain this to you. The PACs will not actually report until one day prior to the actual election. So they're going to give you a lot of information, and Mr. Zucaro is going to throw out a lot of information right now in regards to look at where all the money's going and look where all the money came from. But what he's not telling you is that they can have all of this money that's going into Monica's campaign, and they're not going to have to report it until just the day before the actual election or right after the election, because it doesn't, the report's not due until the right before or just after the actual election. That's disingenuous, because that's how the PACs don't have to record until just after that. So we need to be genuine about it. So if she is out there collecting from developers, we won't know about it until after the fact. So let's be serious. Now, when we're looking at all of our candidate options, what do we know? We have a candidate, Jeremy Rodgers, that's been out there, that's been doing our job, that's been doing a great job. He actually has been out there for the city. If you haven't had the opportunity to tune in to the city or go to a city council, here's a guy that does not look at what everybody else is doing and just votes because the crowd's doing it. He's asking hard questions and voting for the citizens of Boca Raton. Let's look at Armand Grossman. Here's somebody that actually has political experience. He's been a vice mayor. He's sat on committees. He's looked at and understands the political landscape. He understands education. He understands the things that need to happen, and he does it very well. And as we look at education, I want to talk about the last conversation that everybody has been on top of everybody's mind, and that's the overcrowding of schools. And this is something that keeps on getting up in the debate, and they can put up all the charts and all of the things they want to talk about. It is not about overdevelopment in downtown that's causing the overpopulation of the schools. Everyone, and you look at it, it's about the changing demographics of the city that's causing the overpopulation in the schools. When you have younger families moving into Boca Raton and older families moving out of these homes and moving into condos, that's what's causing the schools to be overpopulated. You cannot change those facts. I don't care how many graphs you put up, Al. I don't care how many graphs you put up, Jack. You cannot change those facts. And if you look at the need of what we're putting up, that's what's causing it. Now, I want to answer one last thing. I am not for development. I'm not for overpopulation. I am not for any of those things. I'm for Boca Raton. I want what everybody wants. I want our city to be the best city it can be. That's all I want. I do not want us to get lost in the shuffle. I am not interested in a debate about what's best for Boca Voice, what's best for Boca Watch. I don't care. All I want is what's best for Boca. That's what's best for everybody. So it's not about anything other than that. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And those of you that know me know what I do for this community. You know where my true heart lies, and it lies in Boca Raton. It's like I'm sick and tired of people telling this town that it's bad. It's not. This city is a world-class city. And people like Al Zucaro that want to constantly tear people down, your time is up. Either get with the program and make it about the city or get out, because we don't have time for things like that anymore. We have too many people in this town that are about making this town the right place to be. Everybody wants to be right. This town is the most giving town in the world, in my opinion. That's why we have the things that we do. You don't believe it? Look at the amount of charities we have in this town that want to give people the things that they do. People will give of their hearts, of their souls to make this town be right. Do you think about the things that are happening? But yet we have people in this town that just want to do the things they do to make it about them. And that's what really drives me crazy. The things that are spewed about people in here that are lies, it isn't about that. And we have to start wondering why they're doing that. When you're going to throw out lies and lies and lies, and you tear down people for the sake of tearing them down to get a betterment, just so that you can either A, get yourself elected, or B, get somebody else elected, what is that purpose? The only thing I will ever do is sit here in this chair and tell you facts, or tell you that something else is fiction, and that is a fact. Thank you for watching Boca Voice and Fact or Fiction Friday. I look forward to seeing you next week.